watching around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's get ready to rumble!
Hey guys, thanks for tuning back in to RSVP Sport. For Ronnie Jean, I'm Jonah Francis. We'd like to thank you for listening to our first podcast. If you haven't listened to it, please listen to it. You can find it on YouTube at RSVP Sport. Also follow us on Twitter at RSVP Sport. Let's jump right on into it. Here we go.
All right, so for your USA basketball updates, we won. Yippee.
Who cares?
Well, who really does? Unfortunately, the casual American basketball fan and even the hardcore American basketball fans, this is not a big deal for us. The Olympics, these FIBA World Championships, we don't really care about it. The NBA is still the pinnacle of basketball. I mean, we won by an average of 33 points per game.
Right.
Where was the competition? What happened to Spain?
I think Spain probably felt the hype. If you really think about it, Pau Gasol is old. Their guards don't ever perform as what is expected. And then Marc Gasol is usually injured.
It wouldn't have mattered anyways.
Who was going to beat them anyway?
I mean, did you hear Fareed, how he was mad that everyone thought the USA was really threatened by Spain? And we were really looking forward to mopping the floor with Spain. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I wanted to see this myself. But let's point out some of the good players, some of the team leaders for the USA basketball. We had James Harden, who actually led us in scoring. And then we have Kenneth Fareed, who did an excellent job on the boards, who complimented Anthony Davis extremely well. No one in the Olympic tournament as athletic as Fareed.
Surprisingly, we're always considered a small team, but this was the first year that we had a lot of big men. Cousins, Drummond, Davis.
And we were once again we were prepping for Spain, which never happened.
Right.
Well, once again, big ups to Kenneth Fareed. Crowd gave him a standing ovation. This guy is going to be a decent NBA player until his energy runs out. And now let's just go to Kyrie Irving, MVP of the FIBA World Tournaments. This guy balls.
He proved himself.
He showed that his All-Star MVP was no fluke.
You're right.
By coming back and capturing this one. And you remember I texted you right after the game, and who did I say he reminds me of?
Like a point guard version of Kobe Bryant.
Oh my God. This man knew how to take over the game. Not saying that we were going to lose, because Kyrie or no Kyrie, we were going to blow them out anyways.
Right.
But at the beginning of the game, when Serbia was up 14-7, who went on a 15-0 run? Kyrie Irving. He's great.
He's good. Very good.
He's even looking iconic.
I don't know about all that. He definitely has the potential. Like, remember he got drafted number 1 after playing 11 games of college basketball.
11 games.
That's all he played. 11 games.
Man.
So,
but you got to remember as well, they saw him and what he did to the 2010 Olympic team when he came to the practice squad, and you know how he was crossing up everyone. Kobe had to put him on lock. You remember that little debate they had going back and forth about a one-on-one game, which never happened. But
did you see the regular season game?
Of course.
All right.
Man, buckets after buckets.
All right.
My God, once again, the point guard version of Kobe Bryant. Remember, we said it first. He even wore Kobe's Olympic 10 jersey.
Right. Definitely.
And that one arm sleeve.
No, Well,
all he needs to do is go bald, and we got Kobe at the point guard. Us winning the gold for the FIBA championships. What does this mean for the 2016 Olympic tournaments? This means that we get an automatic bid into the tournaments.
Right.
There is a difference, and I want everyone to know that there is a difference between the FIBA championships. The FIBA championship qualifies you for the Olympic championships, and they take place 2 years in between one another. And that's really about it. Once again, Spain bowed out. But they were the second most dominant team in the Olympic Games, and they were blowing out, until they lost to France, they were blowing out teams by 20 points on average as well. So this 2014 roster, USA roster, be the new emerging top guns in the league?
Definitely some of them have the potential. You got the big standout names, Kyrie, Harden, Davis. In 2008, players on that team definitely had great seasons coming from the 2008 Olympic team.
Okay.
Kobe won 2 championships. LeBron won 2 championships, MVP. Durant reached the finals, just won the MVP. A lot of players really developed their rep and their start from there, like their dominant start from there.
And I think what it is working with Coach K and actually working with these other great stars. They get a chance to really gauge themselves, compete, because when you're in practice on your team, you're the best player on that team.
Right.
When you're in practice in the FIBA World Championships,
it strips you of your ego. Basically, playing with other players that are great, you
Good
have to
point,
find
good
some
point.
other way to contribute to the team.
Yeah, good point.
So I think with that energy, it carries on over to the season. So they
Yeah.
become better players all around. So that's what we're looking for, to see if these players will carry that over.
And Coach K, big shout out to him, man. He's been doing an excellent job with these guys, treating these guys as if they were college players playing. It was a wrap before this even began.
He's thinking, why would I come coach in the NBA when I could do this every couple years?
Yeah, exactly. To continue on that theme, do you think we can put 3 players and put them on one team and to create a powerhouse team in the league, sort of like Miami did?
Well, a couple players you could. I don't think you would get the Miami effect. You're not going to get
Not from these guys.
Yeah, not from these guys. There's not 3 superstars there. But 3 players I would pick: Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, and just by default, I would pick Stephen Curry. I just like the spacing that they could create. They each do a little bit of different things. I really don't want to split up Curry and Klay Thompson. I like that effect.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty close. The only person we differ on is your last player, which was Steph Curry.
Right.
Instead of Steph, I actually went with another big, and I went with Andre Drummond. But first, let me just kind of explain. We're trying to make a possible team, a team that's actually feasible and fathomable. So with our rosters, we know, once again, the MVP of the FIBA tournaments, Kyrie, is not going to be up and available to be on another team. Why? If you don't know by now,
He already has a super team.
Exactly. With other Olympic gold medalists in LeBron James and Kevin Love. So he's not going anywhere. I actually look for him to have an astounding season, especially from this experience.
I can't wait to see that season.
Exactly. So we know Kyrie isn't going anywhere, and we know James Harden is not going anywhere as well because of his playoff contending team in Houston. However, Klay Thompson and the Davis pairing, and once again, as I said, the Andre Drummond pairing is very possible, even though Klay Thompson is the only one that's going to be a free agent out of that bunch. All that needs to happen is the Pelicans actually make a move towards winning. Pick up Klay in the offseason and make a bid to Detroit for Andre Drummond.
They got the pieces.
Exactly. That would push them over the top. They would be a contender. And at least within the next 2 to 3 years, they'd definitely be a contender with those pieces. Now, I did say, as me and you were kind of talking, if I can take one more player off this USA team just to really push them over the top, to really solidify that powerhouse, I'm taking Rudy Gay. I'm taking Rudy Gay. Ronnie, this guy does something better than everyone on that roster, with the exception of probably Kyrie and James Harden. He scores.
I love Rudy Gay.
Period.
I love Rudy Gay. I'm a UConn fan. I love Rudy Gay.
Period.
His problem is
his heart. Is that where you're going? Or am I jumping too far?
It's definitely that, and it contributes to that. What I was going to say is he does, a little bit of everything, but he doesn't do one thing well. He could definitely score the ball, but in his years in the NBA, he's only averaged 20 points. He should be averaging more. He should be a lockdown defender. He should be averaging at least 6-7 boards. He should be
more than
Scottie
what he
Pippen on any NBA team.
You wouldn't take Rudy as your third or fourth option on a championship contending team?
Of course I would. But if I have my option of picking
from this team, we kind of don't.
The Pelicans have Tyreke Evans already. The Pelicans have a lot of pieces.
They do. Get rid of them and bring in these people. Because these people are going to do something for you. Point blank, period. Yeah. And just to solidify my argument with Rudy Gay, he can consistently put up 30. When I say consistently, I mean he can give you 30 games out of an 82-game NBA season with over 30 points.
No, Rudy Gay is a great player, and if they could do that, definitely go for it. But my point is, they already have something similar right now.
They really don't.
They have Drew Holiday, Eric Gordon, Tyreke Evans, Davis, and Omar Ashik.
Ronnie, you're telling me a bunch of players that aren't doing anything and won't do anything. Eric Gordon hasn't had a good season since he's left the Clippers.
Right, but as your number 4 option,
I'm still not taking him because he didn't do anything last year. So, and as far as Evans, Tyreek Evans, man, I wouldn't want him on my team. He's a ball stopper, and if he's not beating you off the dribble, he's not scoring.
but that's why they traded away Rudy Gay from Memphis. You gotta think about Memphis.
Nah, because Rudy Gay has a jump shot. If you pass it
But
to
he's
Gay,
a ball stopper.
Yeah, but at least he has a lot of different things in his repertoire. He
that
does.
he doesn't put on display.
What do you mean, Ronnie? Go to YouTube. Type in Rudy Gay highlights. Why? Why?
You're taking this out of
Why?
I'm
no,
a fan
because
of
you
Rudy
don't
Gay.
believe he does more than these guys. Period. I'll take Rudy Gay
So
alone.
what's your reason for him getting traded from Memphis and then getting traded from Toronto?
Once again, as I kind of alluded to before when I jumped the gun on your argument, his heart, he's not a real leader. Rudy Gay is not the person that's gonna get you there, but once you're there, he shows up. That's what I think of Rudy Gay.
So Davis, Klay Thompson,
Yup.
Drummond first,
Uh-huh.
and then you would add Rudy Gay.
Yep, and once again, Klay Thompson and Rudy Gay are both in
They're
contract
not going to
years
be able
this
to pull
season.
that off. It's feasible, those 3, but you would expect all 4 of those players to take a lot less than what they're valued at.
LeBron, D. Wade, and Bosh did it.
Yeah, but those players are something different.
But once again, I mean, before you go out and judge us too harshly on this, make sure when you're going out and picking your 3 or even, your 4, make sure that there's a possibility of this happening. Just don't go throwing Derrick Rose, James Harden together on a roster and thinking that's ever going to happen. That's not.
And thinking that would ever work.
Yeah. Go back and listen to the old podcast as Ronnie broke down those positions, and you'll see exactly why it doesn't work. So once again, we're at the segment in the podcast where Ronnie just gets to go off and really let you guys know how he's feeling. Ronnie rants. Ronnie, what do you got for us this time, man?
Too many teams. I've been feeling this for years. The NBA is too diluted. Of course, it's better than it was in the 50s and the 60s when we only had like 10 teams and, basically the Celtics won every year.
Every single year.
But nowadays, yes, the talent is more spread out, more competing teams, and it's available to, a lot more consumers in their respective markets. But this has caused some problems. First, the NBA is an action-packed sport. Highlights every couple of plays, up and down the court. But with all the teams, only a few matter. Sure, every team could win on any given night, but with 82 regular season games and 7-game series in the playoffs, we know the contenders and sleeper teams usually don't win. Nowadays, NBA stars are coming together. So you have
big threes.
Right. All started with Boston. There were several big threes that were organically built, throughout the years, but 3 stars coming together basically started with Boston.
You're talking about the KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen.
Right.
Okay.
Basically why Miami formed their big 3.
Yeah.
So basically nowadays, people are looking to link up together. What was Melo's problem this offseason? Is he going to team up with LeBron? Are they looking to get together? Is he going to go to Kobe? Who's going to come to New York?
Yeah.
Stars are looking to pair up with other potential stars or at least all-stars. So a team is going to be left with a bunch of role players disguised as stars.
The right system could turn a role player to a superstar.
Exactly. So, it's just really diluting the NBA. If you take 2 terrible teams in the East, and they're going to play 4 times a year, those 2 teams. They're terrible. No one's paying any interest into them. But they're playing 4 times a year. Now, take into account that the East, on any given year, has probably 10 bad teams, all facing each other 4 times.
I'd agree. Okay.
How many of those games are you really watching if you're an average NBA fan?
An average NBA fan, probably none. But for me personally, I watch it just because I love basketball.
Right. Basketball fans, diehard fans like us, we're gonna watch it to know what's going on.
But it does suck.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that I'll sit down and I'm entertained by every game. Now, another thing that is really becoming apparent the last couple of years, these bad teams are losing money. About a third of the NBA teams are actually losing money.
Yep.
So definitely, the NBA has tried to mitigate that. The new CBA, you cap salaries,
to kind of prevent exactly what
linking up of players.
Yeah,
but what are the players doing? Taking pay cuts.
Exactly.
So it's not working out. Bad teams also always get the best draft picks. And what happened with these potential superstars? They're not learning the right system. They're not around good players. They become Anthony Bennett. And he was just the next number one that just happened to be bad.
You know what? This kind of reminds me of the Charles Barkley story and how Barkley came onto he got drafted by, if I'm not mistaken, the 76ers. And he had Dr. J, to help guide him along.
Moses Malone.
And he always tells this story. You don't really have too much of that going on anymore. These college players coming in have ego. And if they're the best player on the team, I don't care who you are. You're not telling me how to act, how to behave. There's no rookie hazing going on because I'm the team's best player.
A la DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah.
If you think about it, imagine if there's 30 NBA teams. You cut 5 of them. That would be an entertaining game almost every night. Basically, we know the NBA is not going to cut teams. But if you're not going to cut teams, at least for the playoffs, take the top 16 teams. No matter what conference you're in and what order, top 16 teams, exciting playoff series, at least give something for the fans who've been watching the NBA season, something to look forward to instead of watching teams we know they're not going to win.
I agree with you, but you really want to take away the conferences?
For the playoffs, you can still have your conference during the regular season. It's
but
really organized.
Make no sense.
It really wouldn't, but you have the top 16 teams in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah. So that means basically the East loses just about 5 ballots each year, if not 6 ballots each year.
Great basketball. That's at the end of the day, that's all we want.
So we're at our media takeout segment, and the class of 2003 is now headed into their 12th season, and it's time we start realizing that these guys are like 2 years away from being called old. It's already happening in a way.
Right.
So we all know about the freshman 10, right? You get in school, you're a college freshman, you tack on 10 pounds. We're calling this the senior 15 because now you're in your last quarter of your career and it's time to get real. It's time to take off all that excess fat and weight that you lost so that you can actually go forward with your career. More and more we've been hearing these talented players getting to their 30th birthdays, needing to do something new in order to save their body. But to me, we shouldn't really be hyping these guys up. This is really what you need to do in order to have that great career. This is simply, or not so simply, a test of greatness. And greatness to me consists of these 3 measures in these 3 orders. I need to see production, you need to have some accolades, some achievements, and then longevity. So for production, I need to see these guys throwing up some big numbers. And yeah, this all goes into this theme of the freshman 15. In order for them to continue being productive, they have to lose this weight. I.e., we see LeBron James doing it, Carmelo Anthony doing it, Dwayne Wade finally deciding to do it. So once again, production and this will help their production to continue at the numbers that it says now. Their accolades, whether that be an NBA championship, defensive player of the year, we need to see some accolades along with it to be considered a great player. And then lastly is longevity, which is why this is so important. You're not going to have a long, successful career, once again, at the same body weight that you were at when you were a freshman, when you were in your first 4 years of the league. What do you feel about these guys losing weight, dude?
They all have tacked on weight throughout the years. Coming in, you need to put on that extra weight to deal with the physicality of the NBA.
It's a man's sport.
Right. But now you're used to it. You could take over the game with your mind.
You're smarter.
Right. So you lose weight to prolong. You're 30. At 31, 32, you decline.
Yeah.
As Kobe did years ago.
It's been proven. We've seen great players either do it and continue to be great. Some examples of these great players include, as you said before, Kobe Bryant, and then
Tim Duncan.
Exactly. That's exactly who I was going to say. You've seen how he's been playing these past 2 years, and that
People
has
forget that Duncan was almost retiring a couple years ago. He was no longer the player he was. And then
this is why that whole Kobe versus Duncan debate is so ridiculous, but that's another talk for another day. To continue on it, so we've seen these guys drop weight and continue to be successful in the league. An example of someone that didn't do this, and no disrespect to the big fella, sorry Shaq, you just kept letting your body go more
as
and
he
more.
got older, the more weight he put on.
Exactly, and his career really kind of, and I hate to say this, it was kind of a pathetic way to go, moving from team to team, and then he let an injury take him out, and once again that's due to not
conditioning yourself.
Exactly. So if you don't believe what we're saying here, there's an article from BI which proves that everything that we're saying is basically correct. The way studied, on average, an athlete's performance starts to trend down after they're 30, 11% from 29 to 30, 15% from 30 to 31, 22% from 31 to 32, and an astounding 35% from 32 to 33. So once again, if you're not really doing what we're saying, if you're not working on your game, if you're not working on your body, if you're not working on your mind, your career will wither away.
Well said.
All right, all. Thanks for joining this week. Don't forget to subscribe and RSVP for next week's show. For Ronnie Jean and Jonah Francis, follow us on Twitter at RSVP Sports. RSVP Sports, what we say today matters tomorrow.